I try and keep optimistic about it, but I do know it'll be a lot harder than, say, a generation, not even a generation, than sort of someone who went through the education system within the last 10 years.
They're going to be affecting young people, women, families, jobs, business, all that kind of stuff. But the places that are more affected are going to be places like Lewisham, like Peckham, the poor, more deprived areas.
I think I'm sort of more fortunate than someone who's about 2-3 years younger than me with, say, university fees. I probably won't be affected, but someone in year 11 now will be. And they, £20,000 more debt, that's a huge level of income to think about.
When I was a student, I had free tuition. Certainly nobody ever thought of charging me for my tuition. I also had a student grant, was just about enough to enable me to live during term time with care. Younger people have none of that. Now, none of those things would apply if I was 18 now. I wouldn't have a breeze. I wouldn't have tutors who could spend the time with me and who regarded their job as to open my mind to new ideas. And I wouldn't have the near certainty that I was going to be okay.
Because we can't vote, I do feel that a lot of our views aren't necessarily listened to, and when they think about cuts, the first things that they think about is youth services, education budgets, and not necessarily other areas of spending.
I don't think that they necessarily understand the needs that people have. Although we are like a representative democracy, they still need to represent us. They need to understand what we want to be represented on.
I personally think perhaps taxation is the way out, because no one really likes cuts, and I don't think cuts would necessarily help growth. I just do worry about whether people be hindered, and investors particularly.
A lot of people come from sort of lower middle class families, but they can't afford the high fees that are being put forward, but there's nothing there to support them, which I don't think is fair.
Young people aren't really being engaged, and I really have great respect for Demos and Co-operative for doing this event, because it actually is enlightening more young people about their rights, about what is happening, and about what may affect their homes, their boroughs, their parents' jobs. And I think the government actually needs to grow bigger ears.
And it wasn't necessarily my spending, my borrowing that got us into the problem. So I feel a bit hard done by the fact that I'd have to then bear the brunt of this in the future, but this is just the generation I'm dealt with. I have to get on with it. What I aim to do is sort of get the best out of my life that I can, and see where that takes me. I think the people who did get us into the mess that we are in sort of now should bear the brunt of recovery, and therefore should be paid more, should be taxed more. But I think it's inevitable that I will have to live with some of the implications of this.
We had a level of freedoms to demonstrate, greater freedoms to demonstrate than there are now, greater freedoms of speech that there are now, none of the enclosing things. So that we were not only economically freer, we were intellectually freer. Those are freedoms to be fought for. Those are freedoms that we should have back. They were freedoms that had been fought for by a generation earlier than ours. Freedoms that we had, freedoms that we kind of gave away. Young people now are living without them. And if I were young now, I'd be fighting to have them back.